Chapter 156. The evil emperor had an eccentric personality and killed people like scything flax. He was definitely a demon who killed without batting an eyelid. Wang Chong had already sensed this when he was near the Zhou charcoal wine. If he wasn't an eccentric demon, there was no way he would have such a strong demonic aura around him. But even so, Wang Chong realized that there was a very good side to the evil emperor. The evil emperor might be paranoid, but once he gained his trust, he would trust you wholeheartedly without any reservations. If it wasn't for his personality, he wouldn't have been stabbed in the back by his former disciple, and he wouldn't have felt such betrayal. Only when a person was betrayed by someone he trusted the most would he feel so indignant. But if he was naturally paranoid and didn't trust anyone, he wouldn't have ended up like this. To think that he would accept me as his disciple so quickly. Wang Chong was also surprised. Being betrayed by his disciple and stabbed in the back, logically speaking, he should have been traumatized and wouldn't be willing to accept another disciple. In fact, he might not even accept another disciple for the rest of his life. So for this operation, Wang Chong was already prepared for a long battle. But the evil emperor's actions were out of Wang Chong's expectations. Wang Chong guessed that it was because he saved his life. In the evil emperor's heart, he was indebted to him for saving his life. Naturally, he was different from others. Another reason was that he was a member of the government and not someone from the pugilistic world. This was the fundamental difference between him and that traitorous disciple of his. In addition, the evil emperor was eager for revenge and wanted to borrow his strength to take revenge on that traitorous disciple. That was the reason why he broke the rules and accepted him as his disciple. Disciple, remember that my name is Zhang Wenfu. Don't think that I don't have much strength now and my strength has regressed to the origin energy realm. But before I was plotted against by those bastards and others, I was a Saint Martial realm expert and had hopes of breaking through to the God Martial realm. In the entire world, I can do whatever I want, and there are only a few who can rival me. Back in Purple Bamboo Garden, although he had accepted Wang Chong as his disciple, he had only been with him for a short period of time. The evil emperor was afraid that his disciple did not know how powerful he was and would belittle his master. Speaking of me, in the past, whenever my name was mentioned in the martial arts world, there wasn't a single person who wouldn't pale in fright. Many of the elders and sect leaders of those sects don't even mention it, let alone others. Speaking of the glory of the past, the evil emperor had an air of arrogance between his brows, imperceptibly exuding the aura of a powerful and ambitious person of the past. Even Wang Chong couldn't help but feel intimidated by this sight. The evil emperor's aura was so powerful that it could swallow the heavens and the seas, and he looked down on everyone with disdain. It was completely natural. To have such an imposing manner even when he was in dire straits, one could only imagine how powerful he was when he was at his peak. By the way, you still don't know my name, right? The evil emperor. Wang Chong was just listening when he suddenly heard those words, and he almost blurted it out. Of course he knew his name, and he knew quite a bit about it. Fortunately, he reacted in time and bit his tongue. Otherwise, he would be in deep trouble. My name is Evil. Sigh, you can call me the evil emperor from now on. As the evil emperor spoke, he seemed to have thought of something and sighed deeply. He suddenly changed his mind. This time, Wang Chong couldn't help but be shocked. So the evil emperor isn't his real name. Wang Chong was surprised. He had always thought that the evil emperor's real name was the evil emperor, but it seemed like that wasn't the case at all. The evil emperor was just a name he made up on the spot. It was as if he wanted to cut himself off from his previous self. My disciple, I have a question for you, and you must answer it seriously. The evil emperor suddenly looked at Wang Chong with a solemn expression. Master, please speak. Wang Chong was taken aback. Even though he didn't understand what the evil emperor meant, he still answered immediately. My disciple, let me ask you, if I impart to you an evil technique that everyone hates, will you be willing to learn it? When the evil emperor said those words, his gaze was extremely solemn. The atmosphere in the room also became incomparably heavy with his words. Wang Chong thought about it seriously for a moment before replying. What if it's a great evil technique that kills countless people? The evil emperor asked again. I'm willing as well. Wang Chong didn't hesitate. The great yin-yang heaven creation art absorbs one's energy, and it's a great evil technique that steals the fortune of heaven and earth. Even if you become a demon that everyone curses and denounces as an evil cultivator, don't you care? At the end of his words, the evil emperor's face was as cold as ice, and his expression became extremely cold. It was as if Wang Chong had said something wrong. "Ah, master, are you joking? Humans have good and evil, and so do martial arts? If it's used for good, it's good, and if it's used for evil, it's evil? Does it mean that if you practice the martial arts of the righteous path, the evil deeds you do will no longer be evil?" At this moment, Wang Chong straightened his back and laughed. The evil emperor's gaze was sharp as he stared at Wang Chong, as if he was trying to see through his internal organs, to see if he was speaking the truth. Was he speaking the truth or not? Wang Chong knew what the evil emperor was thinking. Even if most people didn't have anything against the evil path, they wouldn't say it like he did. After all, the evil path had a bad reputation. But Wang Chong really didn't have that kind of thought. What evil path? What righteous path? It was just a human's internal strife. In the future, a calamity was coming, and the whole world would be in the flames of war, and no one would be spared. Evil path? Righteous path? Everyone would be nothing but ashes under the hooves of the iron hoofs. Would one be spared just because they practiced the righteous path? Moreover, during the fusion of martial arts in the apocalypse, everyone had contributed their martial arts, and there were many evil path experts among them. Therefore, Wang Chong really didn't have anything against the evil path. There was no good or evil path in martial arts, only people were good and evil. Facing the evil emperor's gaze, Wang Chong didn't avoid it. Time seemed to have stopped. The old and the young stared at each other, and neither of them spoke. This child, looking at the young man in front of him, the evil emperor suddenly had an indescribable feeling. In his life, he had seen all kinds of people. There were those who boasted shamelessly in front of him, but had a guilty conscience. There were those who swore in front of him, but were scared to death. There were those who said that they didn't mind the evil path, but actually didn't mean it. Even that evil traitor of his, at the start, said that he didn't mind, but his heart was filled with fear. But Wang Chong, this was the first time he met someone, and not only did he say that, he really thought that way. A person who didn't have any prejudice against the evil path. A person who believed that there was no good or evil path in martial arts, only people were good and evil. This feeling, which he had never felt before, caused the great devil like the evil emperor to fall into a trance, and he had an indescribable feeling. To think that I, Zhang Wenfu, would be able to find a person who truly has no prejudice against the evil path in my later years. The evil emperor sighed, and there was an indescribable feeling in his heart. He had always wanted to find a disciple of the evil path, someone who didn't have any prejudice against the evil path. But it was a pity that after searching for so many years, even the few disciples that he had carefully selected were all people who said one thing and meant one thing. In the end, the evil emperor almost lost all hope and completely gave up. He didn't expect that after being plotted against by his evil disciple and outsiders, at his lowest point, he would find a disciple that he liked the most. This is the will of the heavens. The evil emperor had an indescribable feeling in his heart, and the way he looked at Wang Chong was no longer as fierce, and slowly became gentle. The evil emperor realized that he might have found the disciple that he liked the most in his life. Now, let's see how your luck is? The evil emperor looked at Wang Chong, and thought to himself. Swoosh! A palm shot out from the evil emperor's sleeve, and before Wang Chong could react, it wrapped around Wang Chong's wrist. Master! Wang Chong was shocked. The evil emperor's cultivation was unbelievably high. He had already fallen to the essence energy realm, but he still couldn't dodge his palm. Thinking about it, this was the third time that the evil emperor had made a move on him. But soon, Wang Chong realized that the evil emperor didn't have any ill intentions. His palm slid around his body, pinching the ends of his bones, the tips of his bones, and the joints. Wang Chong wasn't unfamiliar with this technique, as those seniors had tried it on him before. This was a bone-feeling technique, and it was used to measure a person's bone frame. Wang Chong stood there quietly, allowing the evil emperor to feel his bones. When choosing a disciple, the first thing to do was to feel his bones. This technique had been passed down from generation to generation, and the evil emperor was already very familiar with it. Only when one's bone frame was tested would he be able to teach the disciple according to their aptitude, and the martial arts to be imparted would be determined according to their aptitude. Otherwise, going too far would be as bad as falling short, and it might even destroy a person. Tiger bone. The first time his palm touched, the evil emperor was shocked. His eyes widened as he looked at Wang Chong with a look of surprise. Wang Chong actually had tiger bone. A 14 or 15-year-old youth was born with tiger bone. This was simply inconceivable. No, it's not tiger bone level 1, but tiger bone level 3, a tiger bone great perfection. The more the evil emperor touched, the more shocked he became. Wang Chong's strength wasn't high, and he was only an essence energy realm martial artist. But his bone frame was frighteningly good. It was common knowledge that bone frame was extremely difficult to raise. But for some reason, Wang Chong was already at tiger bone level 3 at such a young age. No, there's also a dragon form. The more the evil emperor touched, the more shocked he became. Initially, it was just tiger bone, but when he touched Wang Chong's heel, the evil emperor realized that Wang Chong's tiger bone actually contained a dragon form. Tiger bone dragon form. This meant that tiger bone wasn't Wang Chong's limit. Possessing a dragon form meant that Wang Chong's strength could continue to rise, and eventually reach the dragon bone stage. Possessing a dragon bone meant that one possessed unparalleled potential. In the world of sects, they could cultivate almost 99% of the cultivation techniques without any qualms. The demonic emperor old man didn't expect that a descendant of a clan of ministers and generals would possess the tiger bone and dragon avatar. In that instant, the evil emperor was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that when he was in dire straits, a disciple that he unintentionally took in would possess such a rare top-grade bone frame. Among his 3 disciples, none of them had reached this level. More importantly, Wang Chong was only 14 or 15 years old. This meant that his bone frame could still be raised, and he still had boundless potential. Inconceivable! Inconceivable! The evil emperor was dumbfounded. Chapter 157. Even the heavens are on my side. The evil emperor was initially feeling a little depressed, but at this moment, all of that was gone. Chong, do you know why that bastard betrayed me? The evil emperor suddenly turned to look at Wang Chong. Your disciple doesn't know. Wang Chong was really curious. He only knew that the evil emperor was betrayed by someone, and that it was his disciple. But he had never heard of the details, so he didn't know. I saw that bastard as my own son. Zhang Wenfu, maybe, but I never mistreat my disciples. That bastard's talent was lacking, so I imparted him the little yin-yang art. But he thought that I was hiding something and purposely didn't impart it to him. He colluded with outsiders to betray me and assassinate me. That bastard didn't even think about it. Given his aptitude and talent, he had missed the best period to temper his aptitude. If I had imparted that secret art to him, he would have long gone berserk and died. To think that I treated him well. Yet, he tried to assassinate me. They're trying to kill me. Thinking of the past, the evil emperor couldn't help but feel resentful. Wang Chong fell silent. The evil emperor wasn't a good person, but he felt that he had nothing to say to the people around him. He had nothing to say to the people around him. Perhaps he deserved what happened to him today. But no matter what, it was not his disciples' turn to deal with him. Master, don't worry. I will definitely avenge you. Wang Chong said solemnly. Good. Chong, I didn't misjudge you. Your words are more than enough. The evil emperor said happily as he took out his belt. It was at this moment that Wang Chong realized that the evil emperor's belt was actually a whole different world. It looked like an ordinary belt, but there were actually several secret chambers within it. The demonic emperor old man opened the secret chamber and took out a heavy, black pill about the size of a thumb. What is this? Wang Chong was greatly surprised. This is the last dragon transformation pill I have. Only those who had reached Tiger Bone 3 Dan perfection stage could use it. I was originally prepared to give it to him as long as that bastard behaved obediently and cultivated his root bone to the 3rd level of perfection of the tiger bone. After observing him for a period of time and finding that there were no problems with him, I was going to give it to him. But this evil creature was too impatient. This dragon transformation pill is destined to have no fate with him. As the evil emperor spoke, he generously handed over the dragon transformation pill in his hand. Now, I will officially give you this dragon transformation pill. Chong, consume this pill and you'll be able to reach the dragon bone realm. At that time, I will teach you martial arts. Thank you, master. Wang Chong was overjoyed. He had thought that it would take a long time for him to reach the dragon bone realm. Who would have thought that happiness would come so unexpectedly? He would actually receive the dragon transformation pill from the evil emperor. After swallowing the dragon transformation pill, a majestic aura erupted from Wang Chong's body. This aura was incomparably sharp, and it carried with it a tyrannical and destructive power. The pills of the unorthodox are indeed different. This was the only thought that flashed across Wang Chong's mind before he exploded. Kacha kacha, the crisp sound of bones cracking echoed from within his body. Wang Chong felt as though every single cell in his body was burning with a blazing flame. Hold your breath and rein in the medicinal energy within your body. Don't move recklessly. An authoritative voice sounded beside his ear. Wang Chong's heart skipped a beat and he immediately stopped moving. A palm pressed on his Mingmen from behind. With a light pat, a warm surge of origin energy flowed into his body. Changing to another spot, the palm struck once more, and another surge of origin energy flowed into his body. Under the assistance of this external force, the blazing flames within Wang Chong's body felt as though a cold spring had been poured over him, and he immediately felt much better. Time passed slowly, and Wang Chong soon entered a tranquil state. After an unknown period of time, the crisp roar of a dragon suddenly echoed in the air. The air behind Wang Chong blurred, and a vague silhouette of a serpentine dragon could be vaguely seen. The serpentine dragon danced in the air, and it didn't take long for it to vanish. At the same time, Wang Chong opened his eyes, and a brilliant glint gleamed in them. I've finally reached Dragon Bone Realm. Wang Chong spread open his arms, his heart filled with joy. Soaring dragon in the sky, hidden dragon in the depths. Even though his cultivation was only at Dragon Bone 1 Dan, it was a qualitative change to Wang Chong's cultivation. At this moment, Wang Chong felt his body brimming with energy. His endurance, stamina, and explosiveness had all increased significantly. Even though he was still at Origin Energy Tier 7, his foundation was incomparably sturdy. I've finally reached a realm that I couldn't reach in my previous life. Wang Chong thought to himself, overjoyed. With the dragon bone formed, he would no longer be restricted by his root bone anymore. Good, you finally succeeded. To be able to reach such a level of cultivation at 15, your future is bound to be limitless. An old voice sounded from behind. The evil emperor's face was pale, and his voice was weak. Thank you, master. Looking at the weakened state of the evil emperor, Wang Chong was moved. Master, rest assured. Even if the entire world betrays you in the future, Wang Chong will never betray you. Hee, I'm glad to hear your words. This is the foundation establishment page of Little Yin Yang art. Every cultivation technique has to be cultivated step by step, be it the righteous or unorthodox. Once you've built your foundation, I'll impart you the real Little Yin Yang art. Only after you've mastered the Little Yin Yang art can I impart you my true secret art. Thank you, master. Wang Chong didn't disturb him any further. After collecting the foundation establishment page of Little Yin Yang art, he left Shen Hai and Meng Long behind to guard the purple bamboo garden before bidding farewell. Paying respects to master. Just as Wang Chong was leaving purple bamboo garden, hundreds of black-robed men were gathered together in a courtyard in the east of the capital. These men exuded a strong demonic aura, and they knelt down toward a masked black-robed young man on the roof. The walls of the courtyard were deep, and tall trees surrounded the area. No one would be able to notice this place from the outside. Listen up, all of you. On the roof, The masked black-robed young man exuded a cold aura. He raised his head and placed his hands behind his back. His expression was one of arrogance. That old fellow isn't dead yet. I want you all to infiltrate the capital of the Tang dynasty and search through every single street and alley. That old fellow's demonic cultivation technique is something that can't be washed away. I've already obtained a tracking technique. As long as that old fellow appears within a certain range of your surroundings, you will be able to sense him immediately. So, the masked black-robed young man waved his hand and a ball of black flame immediately flew out. The flame split into thousands of fragments in the air and let out ghostly wails as they flew down. In an instant, the hundreds of black-robed men below were all engulfed in flames. The black-robed men shuddered, and their aura immediately underwent a subtle change. Go! Yes, my lord. The hundreds of black-robed men immediately scattered in all directions. You all were too careless. Not long after the black-robed men disappeared, a black shadow suddenly appeared beside the masked black-robed young man. If a snake doesn't die, it will definitely be harmed. Do you all know what would have happened to us if that fellow didn't die? A black circle of light vaguely appeared in his mind. It was like a devil, and it looked extremely bizarre. How could I have known that the old fellow would actually cultivate a secret escape path? I've followed him for so long, and I've never noticed it. The masked black-robed young man said with an aggrieved voice. However, he won't be able to escape for long. His sea of qi is already broken, and with your great art of gathering and my vitality of the evil path. In less than 20 days, even if he's buried underground, I will still be able to find him. Let's hope so, the black-robed man said, and quickly disappeared from the rooftop. After finding the evil emperor and successfully becoming his disciple, Wang Chong felt much more at ease. In the following days, Wang Chong would practice the little yin-yang art every day. Then he would go to the Ghost Tree District to play chess with So Young-sun, and then he would go to the Purple Bamboo Garden to accompany himself. Have you seen anyone recently? Under the locust tree, So Young-sun suddenly stared at Wang Chong said. What? Wang Chong's heart skipped a beat. Looking at So Young-sun's penetrating gaze, he suddenly had a bad feeling. Senior, are you joking? There are so many people on this street. Of course I have to see a lot of people every day. Is that so? So Young-sun said calmly, but he didn't pursue the matter any further. Instead, he picked up a white stone and continued playing. It was as if nothing had happened. Wang Chong heaved a sigh of relief. So Young-sun was a war god, and also a top-notch expert. He might not be any weaker than the evil emperor. He had forgotten that one of them was righteous and the other evil, and they were as incompatible as fire and water. How could I have forgotten? Senior Su is an upright person who abhors evil. I've only been practicing the little yin-yang art for a short period of time, so I hope he doesn't notice. Wang Chong suddenly felt his scalp go numb. The discovery of the little yin-yang art was a small matter, but if So Young-sun and the evil emperor discovered each other's existence, that would be the real problem. Oh no, Wang Chong thought. You're distracted. Suddenly, an indifferent and calm voice rang in his ears. Wang Chong was stunned, and only then did he realize that he had made a wrong move. Senior, you're brilliant. You've made me lose my footing. Come, have a piece of braised beef. Wang Chong suddenly grinned, and without a word, he picked up a large piece of braised beef from the plate in front of So Young-sun. So Young-sun, who was originally silent and solemn, froze when he saw the braised beef that Wang Chong picked up. Come, let's play. Wang Chong thought to himself that it was a close shave, and quickly placed a stone to distract So Young-sun. The game continued from noon to afternoon, and So Young-sun still suffered a crushing defeat. Senior, you've lost again. Wang Chong laughed heartily, and just like the previous time, he bid farewell and left. So Young-sun only laughed twice, and did not speak again. But after Wang Chong disappeared, So Young-sun's smile disappeared, and his face became extremely solemn. Fang Hong. Master, what's wrong? Behind the tree, the old servant Fang Hong walked over. This child has strayed into the wrong path. During this period of time, Some people from the wrong path must have looked for him. Bring me a black kite, I have a use for it. So Yongsun said coldly, and a hint of murderous intent flashed across his face. In the Tang dynasty, if one wanted to have a successful career and become a powerful official, one had to be upright and not make any mistakes. Wang Chong did not know that he had strayed into the wrong path and even tried to hide it from him. Little did he know, he had long seen through it. This child's talent in the art of war was not easy, and even he was no match for him. In the future, he would definitely be a pillar of the imperial court, and he would not allow anyone to lead him astray. Master, are you saying that he has cultivated in the wrong path? The old servant Fang Hong was shocked. Just don't reveal this matter in front of him, I will handle it myself. So Yongsun said, Yes, master. The old servant Fang Hong lowered his head. Chapter 158. Rumble Rumble. A carriage bearing the Wang family's insignia traveled along the streets. In the carriage, Wang Chong sat motionlessly, silently cultivating the foundation manual of the little yin-yang art that the evil emperor had given him. This cultivation technique wasn't as easy as he had imagined. In fact, it was even more difficult than any cultivation technique that Wang Chong had cultivated in his previous life. Fortunately, the evil emperor had warned him that everything was difficult at the beginning. The little yin-yang art was difficult at the beginning and easy at the end. As long as he could get past the initial hurdle, the rest would be much easier. Waves of yuan qi flowed through his body. Under Wang Chong's control, these yuan qi constantly collided against the various acupoints in his body. None of these acupoints coincided with the cultivation technique that Wang Chong was cultivating. All of them were unconventional, and not a single one was a normal acupoint. No wonder this cultivation technique is called an evil cultivation technique. Just these acupoints alone exude an evil aura. Wang Chong thought to himself. Waves of yuan qi flowed through his body. An hour later, a light pop sounded from within his body. Finally, a new acupoint in Wang Chong's body was slowly opening up. With the opening of this acupoint, the yuan qi in Wang Chong's body also grew thicker. Wang. Just as Wang Chong was immersed in the breakthrough he had just achieved, the origin energy in his body suddenly fell into disarray. This feeling. Wang Chong's eyebrows twitched. Stretching out his right hand, he pulled open the curtains and looked behind him. Amidst the dense crowd, Wang Chong immediately saw a cold and suspicious-looking man staring in his direction. On their bodies, Wang Chong could sense a familiar aura. It's someone from the evil path. A thought flashed across Wang Chong's mind. He immediately understood what was going on. In the distance, the other party quickly retracted his gaze. But to Wang Chong, this was enough. Change direction, southeast. Wang Chong knocked on the carriage. After so many days, this was the first time he encountered someone following him. Let's go and take a look. In the crowd, two figures followed closely. The carriage passed through the streets and alleys, but it did not go to Purple Bamboo Garden. Instead, it went to an increasingly remote place. Hey, he asked for it. It just so happened that we couldn't find an opportunity to make a move, but he actually gave us the opportunity himself. Although this kid isn't that old fellow, for him to be able to cause Milord's yuan qi to fluctuate, he definitely has something to do with that old fellow. As long as we capture him, we'll definitely be able to get the location of that old fellow's land. The two of them sped up and followed closely behind. Their speed was no worse than Wang Chong's carriage. In just a short while, the surroundings became densely forested, and the number of pedestrians gradually decreased. In the distance, one could faintly hear the sound of pigs being slaughtered. This was a slaughterhouse. Because there were a lot of animals, other than the butchers and the vendors who delivered the goods in the evening, very few people would come here. Creak. When they were about 1,000 meters away from the slaughterhouse, Wang Chong's carriage came to a stop. Courting death. Behind him, the two disciples were overjoyed. They unsheathed their swords and charged at the carriage without hesitation. But even though they were fast, Wang Chong was even faster. Boom! The carriage window shattered, and Wang Chong, as one with his sword, shot out of the carriage like a cannonball. Halfway through, he had already used the single-character consecutive slash. His speed was even faster and more vicious than the other two. Not good. Careful. The two disciples only saw a flash of light, and in the next moment, Wang Chong had already appeared above their heads. Clang, clang, clang. Wang Chong moved with his sword, moving as fast as lightning. In a short period of time, he was actually able to fight one against two. His position was unpredictable. Sometimes it was east, sometimes it was west, sometimes it was south, sometimes it was north. The direction of his sword was completely unpredictable. After an intense exchange, not only was Wang Chong fine, but Wang Chong had also left 7 or 8 wounds on their bodies. Bang! In the final blow, Wang Chong's figure flickered, and he directly flew back over 30 meters, increasing the distance between him and the two disciples. Courting death. 2 of the corrupt disciples immediately rushed over. Gong Yu, hurry up and attack. Wang Chong suddenly said. Bush. As if in response to Wang Chong's voice, a figure as faint as smoke flashed, and with a flash, it flew out from the crown of a nearby tree. Without too many words, just a single sword strike. In the instant that disciple was distracted, the sword immediately pierced through the heart of the disciple at the back. His movements were clean and precise. Clang. Almost at the same time, Wang Chong shot out, using the single-character consecutive slash to cut through the defense of the other disciple. Borrowing the momentum of the other disciple's parry, Wang Chong somersaulted behind him and stabbed his sword into the disciple's right chest. Amidst a miserable scream, the second disciple clutched his chest and fell to the ground like a wooden pillar. Wang Chong's sword arts were strange, and he was unable to defend against it at all. Speak, who are you people? Why are you following me? Wang Chong stepped on the disciple, and with his right hand he placed his sword on the disciple's neck. With a slight movement, a stream of blood immediately flowed out. Pui, do you think that I will tell you? Wang Chong spat out a mouthful of blood, and the disciple's face was filled with rage. Heh, don't worry, you will tell me. Wang Chong said calmly as he turned around. Gong Yu, I'll leave this person to you. As an assassin, obtaining intelligence was also one of their skills. Wang Chong didn't have to wait for too long before Mayasame Ayaka managed to obtain the intelligence she wanted from the other party. Master, there's a problem. The other party seems to have sent quite a few people to investigate an old man. These people are just one of them. On top of that, they seem to have a unique method to sense that old man. Mayasame Ayaka walked over with a bloodied sword in her hand. There were some things that she didn't reveal. While those people were looking for an old man, they managed to track down Wang Chong. Clearly, Wang Chong had some kind of relationship with that old man. I understand. You should return for now. I'll deal with this matter myself. Wang Chong waved his hands. Mayasame Ayaka nodded before retreating into the surrounding forest, disappearing from sight. Only Wang Chong was left standing on the spot, deep in thought. Those fellows sure came quickly. Wang Chong stood alone in the clearing, his head raised, his mind in thought. In front of Mayasame Ayaka, Wang Chong didn't reveal the truth. But Wang Chong knew that the master that the 2 unorthodox disciples spoke of was probably the traitor that the evil emperor spoke of. More than 300 men, and they're able to lock onto their location through their aura. If that's the case, the purple bamboo garden isn't safe anymore. Recalling the evil emperor, Wang Chong couldn't help but worry. This won't do. I'll have to discuss this matter with Master first. Wang Chong immediately set off. He knocked Mayasame Ayaka unconscious and threw her into the carriage before heading back to the purple bamboo garden. That's about it. A moment later, in the purple bamboo garden, Wang Chong recounted everything that had happened along the way. At the same time, he tossed the captured, unorthodox disciple to the ground. Facts spoke louder than words. Tossing the unorthodox disciple to the ground was more convincing than anything else. That traitor! Looking at the unorthodox disciple on the ground, the evil emperor's body trembled in anger. How could he possibly not recognize the technique that he had imparted to him? The cultivation techniques that these people were using were all from his lineage. Do you really think that I won't be able to deal with him just because my Qi Si has been destroyed? The evil emperor stretched out his palm, and a black aura immediately seeped out from the unorthodox disciple's body and seeped into the evil emperor's body. The unorthodox disciple's face paled, and his skin swiftly turned gray. Then he fell motionless. On the other hand, the evil emperor's aura grew a little stronger after receiving this surge of origin energy. Master! Wang Chong was astonished. Even though he had seen the might of the great yin-yang heaven creation art in his previous life, the evil emperor's cultivation was clearly much stronger than his. His cultivation had fallen to the origin energy realm, yet he was still able to absorb the energy from this heretical disciple's body through the air. Chong, you had better remember this. Our lineage's unorthodox cultivation technique has a total of 4 tiers. The first tier is your current foundation establishment realm. The second tier is the little yin-yang art. It requires the help of an external object to absorb the other party's cultivation technique. The third tier is like what I am doing now, absorbing the other party's cultivation technique from afar. Even though my cultivation has regressed, my cultivation hasn't regressed. I can still use it. However, above the third tier, there's still the fourth tier, which is even more powerful. However, I have never succeeded in cultivating it. Legend has it that the founder of our lineage succeeded in cultivating it, and it seems to have something to do with spacetime. I have never cultivated it before, so I'm not too sure either. You will advance step by step through the 4 tiers, and once you reach the 4th tier, you will be a God Martial Realm expert. The entire world will follow your lead. As the evil Emperor Old Man spoke, his face swiftly turned ashen. The origin energy that he had absorbed previously flowed out of his body like a punctured balloon. Master! Wang Chong was still listening intently at the start, but upon seeing this sight, his face warped in shock. He hurriedly supported his master, the evil emperor. Don't worry. My spirit sea has already been destroyed, and I can't retain any origin energy in my body. Forcefully using the great yin-yang heaven creation art will result in a backlash. That wretched disciple knew of this, which is why he dared to send such trash to deal with me. The evil emperor supported himself with a hand on the table to stabilize his body. Master, are you storing origin energy in your acupoints? Wang Chong suddenly asked. You know of the myriad spirit sea art as well? The evil emperor stared at Wang Chong in shock for the first time. However, he soon nodded. This is one of the unorthodox techniques of our lineage. Since ancient times, only the sect master has known of it, and it has always been extremely difficult to cultivate. My spirit sea has already been destroyed, and I am unable to store origin energy in my dantian. Only by replacing my spirit sea with acupoints can I store origin energy. This is also my only choice. Before Wang Chong, the evil emperor did not hold back at all. Wang Chong was stunned speechless. He had long heard of the technique of storing origin energy in acupoints. However, this technique was extremely mystical, and Wang Chong had only heard of it, but he had never seen it before. Even the seniors in his previous life had said that this kind of cultivation method was unconventional and mysterious. It was not something that ordinary people could cultivate. No wonder he was able to imbue origin energy into Zhou Wen. Chapter 159. Master, if you successfully cultivate the myriad spirit sea art, will you be able to recover your martial arts? Wang Chong suddenly asked. It's not that easy. The myriad spirit sea art is fraught with difficulties. It's just a way to replace the sea of qi. If not for the fact that the qi waves have been broken, no one would bother cultivating the myriad spirit sea art. Using acupoints to replace the sea of qi is a fantasy. I've never heard of anyone succeeding in this. At least, I haven't. The evil emperor smiled bitterly. He looked at Wang Chong and patted him on the shoulder. Child, I understand what you're thinking. Although we've only been master and disciple for a dozen days, I'm glad that you're thinking this way. Wang Chong stood beside the evil emperor. When the evil emperor said this, Wang Chong saw a glint in his eyes, as if he had made up his mind about something. Wang Chong was no stranger to this expression. It was an expression that only a person would have when they were ready to die. The myriad spirit sea art is extremely difficult to cultivate, and few succeed. In other words, he will never be able to recover his previous cultivation. Could it be that he wants to cultivate the myriad spirit sea art to a certain level and impart it to me like he did to Zhouwen? Wang Chang's heart suddenly skipped a beat. In his previous life, the evil emperor's imparting technique required a great sacrifice. He had to give up all of his cultivation and life in order to help another person. It seemed that although he had changed a lot, there were some things that hadn't changed at all. The evil emperor would still give up his cultivation to help himself, just like Zhouwen in his previous life. This made Wang Chang's heart feel indescribably conflicted. Although he had initially come for the great yin-yang heaven creation art, the evil emperor had undoubtedly treated him as a true disciple. He loved and cared for him without holding anything back. This made Wang Chang's heart skip a beat. No matter what, I must stop him, Wang Chang thought to himself. Regarding the evil emperor, Wang Chang's understanding of him was limited to the fact that he possessed unparalleled cultivation base and top-notch techniques. But at this moment, Wang Chang's feelings towards him were completely different. In the depths of his heart, Wang Chang's feelings towards him were completely different. Imperceptibly, Wang Chang had already decided that this was his true master. Master, what are the requirements to cultivate the myriad spirit sea art? Wang Chang asked. There are many conditions that need to be met. A martial artist's aptitude, talent, perseverance, and perception were the most basic. There was also a huge amount of spiritual energy, extraordinary luck, and some external magic treasures, pills, and so on. Chonga, if you're interested, I can also teach you this technique. The evil emperor misunderstood Wang Chang's meaning. Spiritual energy. Wang Chang didn't say a word, but his mind was in turmoil. Although it's hard to say for other things, if it's spiritual energy, I really don't lack spiritual energy. Wang Chang thought of the spirit vein that he had discovered not too long ago. Although he didn't know the specifics of the myriad spirit sea art, it was definitely closely related to the spiritual energy of the world. Based on Wang Chang's past experience, as long as there was sufficient spiritual energy, the success rate of the myriad spirit sea art would be greatly increased. Master, this disciple doesn't mean that. However, that person has sent his disciples to search the entire city. Master is no longer safe in the capital. This disciple knows of a place where Master can hide temporarily. Furthermore, it would be beneficial for Master's cultivation of the myriad spirit sea art. Wang Chang said. The evil emperor raised his eyebrows. Wang Chang chuckled. Without hiding anything, he revealed what he knew. Hearing about the spirit vein, the evil emperor was greatly moved. He looked at Wang Chang in disbelief. Spirit veins were incomparably precious, 1 in 10,000. Just like hundreds of thousands of mountains, one might not even find one. For Wang Chang to be able to discover a spirit vein at such a young age and even buy it in advance, this was simply inconceivable. To the evil emperor, this was something he didn't even dare to think about. This is unbelievable. To think that such a thing could actually happen, the evil emperor was shocked. This disciple's abilities were getting more and more shocking. It was beyond his understanding of young Master Wang Chang. However, there was one thing he was right about. If he had the help of a spirit vein, it would be greatly beneficial for his cultivation of the myriad spirit sea art. Everything will go according to your arrangements. The evil emperor didn't insist anymore. Then Master, rest well. I will arrange for someone to send you out of the city tomorrow. Wang Chang smiled. After lingering in the purple bamboo garden for a moment, Wang Chang left. Not long after Wang Chang left in the carriage, the evil emperor retracted his smile and revealed a solemn expression. Walking out of the room, the evil emperor raised his head and looked towards the sky above the purple bamboo garden. He saw a huge black bird circling above. As though it had sensed something, it flapped its wings and flew towards the west of the city. Beast. You still want to leave after coming here? The evil emperor laughed coldly. He raised his finger and a wisp of black chi shot out from his finger. This wisp of chi wasn't very strong. It was completely at the origin energy realm. However, for some reason, it was unbelievably pure and condensed. As the chi flew through the air, it didn't dissipate or weaken. It was just like when it shot out from the finger. Pooh! The finger chi pierced through the layers of void, catching up to the black kite in the air, piercing through it. Blood chi burst out in the air, and the black kite's cries stopped abruptly, falling straight down from the sky. Seeing the black kite descend, the evil emperor's expression relaxed slightly. He had long noticed the black kite. Even though he had suffered a huge change and his strength had declined, his mental will, senses were still present. For such a huge bird to appear above his head, it was as though a torch in the middle of the night. Even though there were many houses between them, he could still sense it clearly. This black kite is definitely not sent by Chonga. There is no need for him to do so. There is a high chance that someone was tailing him to discover me. The demonic emperor old man's brow slowly creased as he recalled the powerful sword intent Wang Chong had exuded. That sword intent was so profound that Wang Chong didn't notice it at all. In fact, he didn't even feel anything. However, the evil emperor felt it. He had noticed it the moment Wang Chong walked in. That sword intent didn't attack Wang Chong, but it contained a strong warning, as though warning him not to get close to Wang Chong. Sword intent. This person's swordsmanship is really high. At the very least, he is at the pinnacle of the Saint Martial realm. He isn't any weaker than me. To think that the Tang dynasty would have such a formidable figure hidden in the capital. The evil emperor muttered to himself as a hint of fear flashed across his eyes. For one to reach such a level in swordsmanship, the condensation of one's sword chi should be at least at the level of being able to condense into threads. Even at his peak, he would have to tread carefully if he were to encounter such a powerful swordsman. This was because of the fact that the great yin-yang heaven creation art was most unwilling to absorb the sword chi of a swordsman, and it was also the most difficult to refine. This disciple of mine sure knows an incredible figure. The evil emperor recalled how protective the other party's sword intent was toward Wang Chong, and he couldn't help but smile bitterly. The other party's sword intent was pure and imposing, clearly indicating that he was a cultivator of the righteous path. There was a high chance that this matter had something to do with the little yin-yang art that he had imparted to Wang Chong. Clearly, the other party had misunderstood him. Wang Chong possessed exceptional aptitude. For him to be able to reach Tiger Bone 3 Dan at the age of 15, it was truly a rare talent. The evil emperor didn't believe that the other party wouldn't be able to see through his aptitude. Clearly, the other party had taken a liking to his disciple as well. Looks like this disciple of mine is really popular. However, it's impossible for me to give up on him. Since you want to snatch him, let's do it on our own. The evil emperor chuckled, and a domineering aura emanated from his eyes. That's right. The other party's swordsmanship was indeed impressive, but the evil emperor wasn't a pushover either. In the past, it would have been a joke if anyone dared to snatch his disciple. Since the other party wanted to take Wang Chong as his disciple, then bring it on. Turning around, the evil emperor placed his hands behind his back and walked into the house. The black kite is dead. Almost at the same moment the evil emperor returned to the house, the war god So Yong-sun suddenly opened his eyes beneath a large locust tree in the west of the city. Beside him, the old servant Fong Hong was shocked. How is this possible? The black kite can fly up to a height of more than 10,000 zhang. Even arrows can't reach it. How could anyone harm the black kite at such a high distance? The black kite is indeed dead. There's no doubt about it. The other party's cultivation is extremely high. Not only did he kill the black kite, he even destroyed the sword intent I left on the black kite and erased my aura. Right now, we only know the general area, but we have no way of ascertaining his exact location. So Yong-sun spoke nonchalantly, as though he was talking about an insignificant matter. But the old servant by the side was shocked. How is this possible? To think that there would be someone in the capital who would be able to destroy Master's sword intent. Fong Hong's eyes widened. He was truly taken aback. The old master was getting on in years, and he had long left the royal court and given up on martial arts. But Fang Hong knew that not only did the old master's martial arts not regress, it was even improving. What the old master cultivated wasn't sword chi, but sword intent. Sword chi was easy to cultivate, but sword intent was difficult to cultivate. After so many years, the old master's cultivation had already surpassed the level of swordsmanship in the eyes of ordinary people, reaching an even higher realm. This was precisely the reason why the black kite was infused with sword intent instead of sword chi. Sword intent was sharper than sword chi, and it was harder to erase. But just now, the old master said that his sword intent had been erased by someone. How could there be such a person in the world? How did he know such a formidable figure? Chapter 160. At the moment, the entire capital was filled with spies planted by Wang Chong's third senior. Based on what his master, the old man of the demonic path, had said, it was impossible for third senior to accomplish this feat alone. This matter involved a Saint Martial realm expert, and even the Wang clan wouldn't be able to deal with it. The sects had always been a lawless land in the world of the Tang dynasty. Regardless of whether it was his previous life or his current one, Wang Chong didn't know much about this world. He only had a vague understanding of it. I hope that Master can safely pass through the city gates and reach the spirit vein. In the study, Wang Chong subconsciously tapped his finger on the table as he thought. The city gates were an important barrier to entering and exiting the capital. Wang Chong didn't believe that they wouldn't send someone to guard it. However, the city gates had always been guarded by the imperial army. Wang Chong had already informed Uncle Li Lin and Zhao Fengchen in the royal palace. Given their current standing in the royal palace, it was entirely possible for them to work together with the guards to create a ruckus to chase away the unorthodox disciples. I've already sent Li Zhuxin and Mayasame Ayaka. There shouldn't be any problems. Wang Chong thought. He couldn't help but feel a little nervous. He should have gone to such an occasion as well. However, it was a pity that he had just cultivated the little yin-yang art. If the two of them were to go together, things would only get more troublesome. Reporting. Just as Wang Chong was worrying, a Wang clan guard suddenly rushed in with a head full of sweat. Young master, the old master has successfully come out of seclusion. That's great. Hearing those words, Wang Chong's face flushed in agitation, and he clenched his fists tightly. With his master out of seclusion, Wang Chong had finally gotten rid of a worry in his heart. Where's Li Zhuxin and Mayasame Ayaka? Wang Chong asked. Li Zhuxin and Miss Mayasame have followed young master's instructions and left to escort the old master. They'll be returning in 10 li, the guard replied respectfully. Hearing this, Wang Chong let out a long sigh. Those who participated in this operation were all old guards of the Wang family. Many of them had been with the Wang family for more than 10 years, so there was absolutely no problem with their loyalty. As for Li Zhuxin, he was familiar with the matters of his previous life, so there was definitely no problem with him. Even if he had to die, he would do it for you. As for Mayasame Ayaka, even though she wasn't as loyal as the guards of the Wang clan, and Wang Chong wasn't as familiar with her master as Li Zhuxin, she still didn't know much about this matter. The order that Mayasame Ayaka had received was to work together with Li Zhuxin. The rest had nothing to do with her. As long as she still wants to find a solution to the Spectre Steps, her loyalty shouldn't be any lower than Shanhai and Meng Long, Wang Chong thought to himself. Different people would have different ways of controlling the sword, and for Mayasame Ayaka, Wang Chong was different from others. Spectre Steps had a fatal flaw, and Mayasame Ayaka knew this better than anyone else. As such, as long as she wanted to preserve her own life, she would be more reliable than anyone else. Whether I can change my fate in my previous life or not will depend on teacher. Wang Chong thought. Wang Chong didn't know what the evil emperor had gone through in his previous life, but for him and Zhou when to be pursued by that traitorous disciple of his, it was impossible for things to have gone smoothly. But in this life, everything had changed. To his first teacher, the massive spirit vein was the greatest form of filial piety that Wang Chong had for him. With the support of a massive amount of spiritual energy, the success rate of his teacher's myriad spirit sea art would definitely be much faster than in his previous life. This was also Wang Chong's greatest hope. A gust of wind blew across the room, and Wang Chong soon recovered from his daze. He turned his gaze to the little yin-yang art on the table. This was the advanced version of the little yin-yang art that the evil emperor had given to Wang Chong after Wang Chong met with the evil emperor in the morning, and it was the complete version as well. Wang Chong wasn't able to cultivate any further than that. The great yin-yang heaven creation art had to be cultivated step by step, and if he didn't cultivate the little yin-yang art to its peak, even if it was given to Wang Chong, he wouldn't be able to cultivate it. Looking at the sutra on the table, Wang Chong fell into a trance. It was a quiet morning. While most people thought that everything was peaceful, not many people knew that a commotion had occurred at the capital's gates. The commotion left as quickly as it came. In the end, they captured a few unorthodox cultivators and locked them in jail. The city gates swiftly returned to normal. I'm late. Not too long after the evil emperor left, a tall black figure stood outside the purple bamboo garden, as though a massive sword piercing through the heavens. Looking at the silent and empty purple bamboo garden, a cold glint flashed across So Yong-sun's eyes. Perched on his shoulder was a black kite. It had a sharp beak and metal wings, and it looked a little uneasy. And beneath his feet was the corpse of the black kite that the evil emperor had killed yesterday. Staring at the empty purple bamboo garden, So Yong-sun finally turned around and disappeared amidst the thin morning mist. Time slowly passed. The demonic Emperor Old Man's departure was like a magnet that drew away all the storms. Wang Chong's life slowly returned to normal. However, unbeknownst to Wang Chong, in a place where he couldn't see, another massive storm was brewing. A few days later, bang! The door to Wang Chong's study was suddenly pushed open from the outside. A pretty maid appeared at the door, her forehead beaded with sweat. Xiao Zhu. Wang Chong stopped his cultivation and looked at the door in surprise. He recognized this maid. She was his mother's maid, Xiao Zhu. She was very intelligent and would never disturb him on normal days. Moreover, Wang Chong remembered that he had said that no one was to disturb him without his permission. Young master, Madam wants you to go to the main hall now. It's urgent, go now. Hurry. Before Wang Chong could ask, Xiao Zhu held the door frame with both hands and hurriedly said a bunch of things. Her voice was fast and anxious. She seemed to be in a hurry. Wang Chong was shocked. This Xiao Zhu was not usually so rash. What had happened for her to be in such a hurry? Wang Chong was very curious. Young master, hurry. Xiao Zhu stomped her feet and urged him again. Seeing that it was his mother's order, Wang Chong did not dare to delay. He took off his loose training clothes and changed into a new one. Then he hurriedly followed Xiao Zhu to the main hall. It seems like it. The door to the main hall was tightly shut. 20 zhang away, Wang Chong's nose twitched. Suddenly, he caught a strong scent of incense in the air. This is the scent of high-grade Dao incense. Why would there be Dao incense in the house? What kind of esteemed guest is here? Wang Chong suddenly recognized it and was astonished. The houses of nobles, and the rich would all have Dao incense. However, the Dao incense in the house of nobles was different. Usually, only extremely esteemed guests would use it. In Wang Chong's impression, even the king of Song wouldn't use this Dao incense when he visited the Wang clan. But now, Wang Chong actually caught the scent of Dao incense. What in the world is going on? Wang Chong's curiosity was piqued. Pushing open the door, Wang Chong immediately saw his mother kneeling on the ground, a respectful expression on her face. Around her were the maids, and servants, all of whom were also kneeling. Before her stood a palace eunuch with cloud patterns. Behind him were more than 10 chamberlains of imperial insignia, dressed in golden armor and exuding a powerful aura. When Wang Chong pushed open the door and walked in, the creaking sound attracted everyone's attention. Many pairs of eyes looked over from all directions. Wang Chong's eyes met with the palace eunuch, and his heart skipped a beat. His face immediately warped. This was a eunuch of the palace. And a yellow-robed eunuch at that. Yellow was the color of dragons. In the palace, there was only one kind of eunuch who dared to wear such cloud patterns. And that was the head eunuch who served the holy emperor. This was the first time Wang Chong had seen one in his life. Unfilial son. Hurry up and kneel before me. His mother's stern voice sounded from the guest hall, fearing that she would anger the head eunuch of the palace. Wang Chong's face darkened. He hurriedly stepped over the door sill and walked in. Greetings, eunuch. Wang Chong walked over and hurriedly bowed, his mind a little uneasy. Even though they were eunuchs, they represented the emperor. If there wasn't anything important, they would never appear outside the palace. Gongzi received the decree. The head eunuch glanced at Wang Chong and said calmly. His face was expressionless, giving off an unfathomable feeling. Just like his mother, Wang Chong knelt down. However, his target wasn't the head eunuch, but the yellow imperial decree in the latter's hands. By the will of the heavens, the emperor declares, the young master of the Wang clan, Wang Chong, is to enter the palace immediately to meet the emperor. Thus, the head eunuch picked up the imperial decree on the silver plate, opened it, and read it out before Wang Chong and his mother. There was only a simple sentence on the imperial decree, and after that, there was nothing else. That's it. Wang Chong raised his head and looked at the head eunuch in astonishment. Gongzi, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and receive the decree. The head eunuch looked at Wang Chong with disdain. Seeing that Wang Chong was looking at him, his snow-white eyebrows furrowed in displeasure. Wang Chong received the decree. Wang Chong hurriedly stood up, lowered his head, and respectfully received the imperial decree from the head eunuch. Only then did the head eunuch nod his head in satisfaction. Gongzi Wang, hurry up and take a bath. Follow me into the palace to meet the emperor. Wang Chong understands. Thank you, eunuch. An incense's time later, Wang Chong finally walked out of the Wang family residence. He was dressed in a white robe, a purple gold crown, and a jade pendant. The courtyard was silent. All of the servants had retreated, leaving only the head eunuch and the chamberlains of imperial insignia. Wang Chong lifted his head to look at the sky. Dark clouds hung low in the sky, creating a stifling atmosphere. The wind is blowing. Wang Chong looked up at the sky and muttered to himself. At that moment, at a place where his eyes couldn't see, Wang Chong suddenly caught a whiff of the wind. As though responding to Wang Chong's thoughts, a powerful gust of wind swept the fallen leaves across the courtyard, causing Wang Chong's robe to flutter. Amidst the rustling of the leaves, Wang Chong stepped into the carriage in the courtyard. Chapter 161. The carriage of the palace was extremely luxurious, and the floor was covered with a golden and red Persian carpet. It was said that during the era of Emperor Taizong, the Western Abbasid Caliphate royal family presented it to Emperor Taizong. The inner walls of the carriage were also covered with an extremely luxurious tapestry. The entire carriage was beautiful and extremely comfortable. However, Wang Chong wasn't in the mood to enjoy it. Seated in the carriage, Wang Chong's heart was in turmoil, unable to calm down for a long time. Regardless of whether it was his previous life or this life, the current Holy Emperor was a legend of the Central Plains, a myth. At the same time, he was also the greatest emperor in the history of the Central Plains. It was in his hands that the Tang Empire made great efforts to govern and put good officials in important positions. Thus, the Tang Empire reached its current level of political and military success. It was prosperous and was worshipped by people from all over the world. The wealth of the entire Tang dynasty allowed it to dominate the world and look down on all the other countries. It was under his hands that the entire Tang dynasty became the most powerful era in the history of the Central Plains. However, it was also this person who, in his later years, indulged in wine and women, neglected the affairs of the court, placed treacherous officials in important positions, alienated the capable, and pushed the empire into the abyss of destruction. It was the same person, but how could he change so much? His earlier and later years were like two different people? This was the deepest doubt in Wang Chong's heart, as well as an unsolvable riddle in the hearts of the future generations. In his previous life, Wang Chong was just an ignorant profligate scion. He couldn't even enter the royal palace, needless to say, meet the emperor. Later on, when Wang Chong came to his senses and worked hard, the Wang clan had already declined. He didn't even have the qualifications to meet the officials of the royal court, needless to say, the Holy Emperor. Later on, when Wang Chong finally became the Grand Marshal of the Central Plains, the greatest Holy Emperor in the history of the Tang dynasty had already turned into smoke, disappearing into the dust of history. For his entire life, Wang Chong was destined to never meet the greatest Holy Emperor in the history of the Tang dynasty. This was the deepest regret in Wang Chong's heart. However, as a person who had lived 2 lives, everything had changed. This was the first time Wang Chong had entered the palace to meet the emperor. "I wonder why your majesty is looking for me?" Wang Chong felt uneasy. As he sat in the carriage, countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Wang Chong had some vague guesses in his heart, but he could not confirm them. The summons this time was too sudden. Just as he was feeling apprehensive, the carriage suddenly stopped. A faint sound came from outside. "Greetings, eunuch Hai." "Lord Wang." It seemed like someone had stopped the carriage. The carriage of the palace was no small matter. This person actually dared to stop the carriage of the palace. His identity was definitely no small matter. "Uncle." After listening for a while, Wang Chong abruptly sat up, greatly surprised. One of the voices belonged to the head eunuch, and the second voice was Wang Chong's big uncle, Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen was an influential official in the royal court, and he had the authority to discuss politics. His position was high, and his standing was extremely high. This standing wasn't just in the royal court. It seemed like Big Uncle was even able to speak a few words in the royal court. The two of them spoke with hushed voices, and at the very end, Wang Chong only heard the voice of the head eunuch. "Lord Wang, hurry up. Remember not to take too long." "What?" Just as the head eunuch spoke, "What?" the carriage door opened, and Big Uncle Wang Zhen hurriedly squeezed in with a grave expression. "Chong, time is of the essence, so listen carefully. There are some important points that you must remember well in this trip to the palace." Wang Zhen sat opposite to Wang Chong, and he hadn't even taken off his morning robe yet. Despite knowing Big Uncle for so long, this was the first time Wang Chong saw such a grave expression on his face. It was even more formidable than when the Yao clan schemed against the Wang clan. "Lord Prime Minister has already gathered all of the officials and generals in the royal court to request His Majesty to pass the regional commanders system and the policy of utilizing the WHO. However, it has been refuted by your grandfather." Wang Zhen went straight to the point and threw a heavy blow at Wang Chong. Wang Chong's body jolted in shock. It really was the regional commander's system. However, what Wang Chong was concerned about wasn't this. Instead, he was concerned about Big Uncle's words, "refuted by your grandfather." Even though Wang Chong didn't know much about politics, as someone who grew up in a clan of ministers and generals, he knew what it meant. The regional commander's system and the policy of utilizing the WHO were proposed by the current prime minister. Since grandfather refuted this matter, it meant that the Wang clan was on the verge of falling out with the current prime minister. Not only so, in the Tang dynasty, grandfather was aloof from worldly affairs. His students and acquaintances were scattered all over the world, and he wielded a unique status. Even though he rarely participated in the politics of the royal court, he wielded immense influence in the royal court. This time, he has stood out and publicly opposed the regional commander's system and the WHO system. This is something that has never happened before. Wang Chong was well aware that the impact this matter would have on the imperial court was not as simple as his big uncle had said, that it would only be a rebuttal. "What is His Majesty's stance on this matter?" Wang Chong suddenly asked. "You're smart. You managed to think of the crux of the matter so quickly." Wang Zhen praised. His nephew's intelligence truly left him in awe at how he was able to understand the situation so quickly. However, that's where the problem lies. Even though the officials were caught off guard by your grandfather's reaction, causing the royal court to be in chaos during the morning assembly. More importantly, the Holy Emperor didn't express his stance on this matter at all. No one knows what the Holy Emperor is thinking. Wang Chong exclaimed in realization. "Now, do you know why I was so surprised and anxious when His Majesty summoned you to the royal palace?" Wang Zhen said. He had only received the news after the morning assembly ended. Just as the court was dismissed, he received news that the head eunuch of the royal palace had arrived at the Wang family residence, and he was summoning Wang Chong to the royal palace to meet the emperor. This news caught him off guard, and he was extremely shocked as well as deeply uneasy. Almost instinctively, Wang Zhen felt a sense of danger. Entering the palace to meet the emperor was a matter of great importance to any aristocratic family or clan. The Son of Heaven doesn't summon anyone for no reason. It would be fine if the emperor and his subjects did a good job, but if they didn't, it would spell disaster. In the previous dynasty, it wasn't the first or second time that a clan fell out of favor due to such a matter. Wang Chong had no experience in this aspect, so Wang Zhen couldn't help but worry. Time was of the essence, so Wang Zhen could only try to hail a carriage on the road. Wang Chong, this matter concerns our entire Wang clan. Not just you and your father, but me, your big aunt, your little uncle, and everyone else as well, Wang Zhen said grimly. He couldn't tell whether Wang Chong's entry into the royal palace was a blessing or a curse. He could only secretly hope that nothing would go wrong with this matter. So, you better listen to me. Once we enter the royal palace, answer whatever His Majesty asks you. Even if you don't know anything, you must say that you don't know anything. Whatever His Majesty doesn't ask, you mustn't say anything. Don't act on your own, don't try to act smart, and don't try to show off your talents. After saying those words, Wang Zhen stared fixedly at Wang Chong. The atmosphere in the carriage was incredibly heavy. Wang Chong could sense the worry in his big uncle's heart. Even with his eyes closed, Wang Chong could sense the unease in his heart. The summons of the Son of Heaven is no small matter, especially when this matter involved the current Prime Minister, grandfather, and all the civil and military officials in the court, as well as the Han and Wu. More importantly, this matter involved the future fate and lifeline of the Great Tang. Big Uncle, don't worry. I know what I should do. Wang Chong closed his eyes, and after a moment of silence, he spoke. His expression was calm, and it gave people a strong sense of influence. It's good that you understand. Wang Zhen was taken aback for a moment before nodding his head. After which, he swiftly explained the details of the meeting with His Majesty. Wang Chong listened attentively to his words. Lord Wang, it's time. A sharp voice sounded from outside the carriage. The head eunuch of the Cloudweave Guards knocked on the wall of the carriage, and a crisp sound echoed. Wang Zhen didn't dare to dally. After giving a few more reminders, he quickly dashed out of the carriage. Under the escort of a dozen chamberlains of imperial insignia, the carriage headed toward the royal palace. I hope that nothing will go wrong with this child. Wang Zhen looked at the departing back of the carriage worriedly. The royal palace of the Tang dynasty was grand and majestic. The thick walls of the palace, which were several dozen zhang tall, glistened under the sunlight. Sitting in the carriage, Wang Chong parted the curtains, only to see palaces, halls, and patrolling imperial army soldiers. The entire royal palace had a majestic and austere air to it. Looking at the majestic royal palace, Wang Chong suddenly felt a little dazed. In truth, Wang Chong had been to the royal palace before. Even though all that was left of the palace back then was a pile of rubble and rubble. Seeing the majestic and complete palace before him, Wang Chong couldn't help but feel an indescribable sorrow in his heart. Mountains and rivers crumble in the wind, one's life floats in the wind, and the rain hits duckweed. These were the two lines of a poem that Wang Chong recited back then. The royal palace was the center of the entire Tang dynasty, as well as the symbol of the unparalleled authority of the entire Central Plains. The fall of the royal palace didn't just represent the fate of a city, it also represented the fate of the entire nation. The past is in the past. This is my life. No matter what price I have to pay, I won't allow it to repeat itself. Wang Chong clenched his fists so tightly that he didn't even realize that his fingernails were digging into his flesh. Wang Gongzi, the Taiji Hall is right in front. His Majesty, the Holy Emperor, is waiting for you inside. Make sure not to offend the Holy Emperor when you arrive. The voice of the head eunuch sounded from outside the carriage. Thank you, Gongzi. Wang Chong understands. Recovering from his daze, Wang Chong nodded. One. After an unknown period of time, without any warning, a bizarre feeling suddenly welled up in his heart. Inexplicably, Wang Chong felt the world around him darken. In an instant, a powerful energy that could shake the world gushed toward him. This feeling was as if he had suddenly entered another world from one world. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.